Hi, I'm Christophe Choo with the Christophe Choo Real Estate Group at Coldwell Banker in Beverly Hills. One of the most common questions I'm always asked on my blog is, what are the costs associated with, number one, purchasing a home, in terms of closing costs, what should a buyer expect to pay in order to purchase that property, and then secondarily, what are property taxes and what are the average monthly holding costs to actually own a piece of property. So I thought, since that's a common question, I'd do a little video about that and talk to you based on essentially $1 million purchase price, what that basically means. As a purchaser of a home, again, depending if you're paying cash or getting financing, if you're getting financing for a home, you can assume to pay approximately 3% of the purchase price as your total closing costs. And let me give you kind of a little breakdown of what that is. If you're buying $1 million home, first of all, you have an escrow fee that you have to pay as a buyer. It's typically a base cost, which is typically $200 as a base, and they typically charge you anywhere from $1.75 to $2 per thousand. So for example, on $1 million purchase, you'd be expecting to pay about $2,150 in escrow fees. Now, title insurance, if you're a buyer and you're buying a home and you're getting financing, your lender will require that you provide title insurance. The seller pays for a portion of the policy, but as a buyer, you have to pay for the lender's portion of that policy. And on $1 million home, that would be approximately $2,000. So you just figure about every $1 million of sales price, if you're getting financing, you're going to pay about $2,000 towards your title fees for that purchase. Property taxes. Now, property taxes are based on Los Angeles County, and they're approximately 1.25% of the purchase price on an annual basis. Now, typically, when you buy a home, you'll have to prepay a portion of those property taxes during escrow. It could be 6 months, depending on the escrow, but that's kind of an approximation. And then once you own the property, your property taxes are due basically twice a year, on November the 1st and then on April the 10th. So those are the two separate installments. So for example, on $1 million home, you'd expect to pay about $12,500 in property taxes, and half of that would be due in November, and the other half would be due sometime in April. Also, in addition, you do need to prepay your property insurance, fire and liability, which most lenders will require, and that you have to pay at the time of close of escrow. And you could assume on $1 million home, a basic fire and liability policy will probably cost you around $2,000 plus or minus. Many people here in California do get earthquake insurance. That is a little bit more costly. That might be an additional $2,000 to $3,000 for earthquake insurance. Now, in terms of financing, if you're getting a loan, you typically have to pay loan points or fees. They generally range from 1 point to 2 points, and that basically means 1% to 2 percentage points based on the loan amount that you're borrowing. And then there's typically also an appraisal fee, there's typically a loan tie-in fee, there's a number of different credit report fee on top of that, 1 to 2 points you pay to actually obtain the loan. So those are the basic closing costs. Oh, also another important factor is inspections. I always recommend every buyer get a full slew of home inspections when they purchase a home. A general inspection for a home, an average size home of about 2,000 to 3,000 square feet, will run you about $450 to $500. That's for a general inspection. I also suggest you always get a sewer line check, where they actually send a video camera down the sewer line to let you know the condition of that sewer line. Because a good 20 to 30% of the time there's a break, there's a crack, there's an obstruction, and that costs about $350 to get that inspection. I also recommend, if the house has a chimney, you get the chimney inspected. That typically costs about $350 per chimney. So your basic standard, 3-bedroom, 2-bath home with 1 fireplace, about 2,000 square feet, is going to run you about $1,000 for your general inspections. And your general inspector will also possibly recommend having additional roof inspectors, foundation inspectors, drain inspectors, etc., if he sees other potential problems in the house that you need to be aware of. So that's the basic rundown. If you're buying $1 million home, you can expect about 3% total in closing costs. And also, one more thing I forgot to mention, if you're paying cash for a home, which is a good 40% of the buyers in the U.S. markets today are paying cash, you don't have any title policy fee to pay as a buyer, and you have no loan points or fees to pay as well. So there's a rather substantial savings in fees if you actually pay cash for the property. So I hope this answers some of your questions. If you do have more questions, feel free to give me a call at 310-777-6342 or check out our website at www.christophechoo.com. And thanks for watching.